What's the dumbest reason someone refused to believe you? When I was 16, I told my driving instructor I had severe dyslexia and couldn't read certain road signs quickly. I'd been diagnosed since age 7, had an IEP through school, and used special reading software for homework. Mrs. Henderson, this stern 60-year-old woman who'd been teaching for 25 years, immediately rolled her eyes when I mentioned it during our first lesson. "Oh, please, not another fake learning disability," she scoffed. "Every teenager thinks they're dyslexic now. It's the newest excuse." I wasn't trying to make excuses. I explained that I could drive perfectly fine. I just needed extra time to process written directions and sometimes mixed up left and right under pressure. "That's called being a bad student," she said, adjusting her clipboard. "Read that street sign right now." I looked at the green highway sign ahead. The letters scrambled and flipped in my vision like they always did. "Oak, Brook, Drive," I said, squinting hard. "See? You read it fine. Stop pretending to have disabilities for attention." I tried explaining that's not how dyslexia works. I can eventually read most things. It just takes longer and requires intense concentration. Letters flip around, words swap positions, and under stress it gets worse. "Convenient," she muttered. "What's your excuse going to be when you fail the written test?" For the next month, this woman made every lesson torture. She'd randomly bark, "Left! No, your other left!" while I was driving, then mark points off when I hesitated. She'd demand I read street signs rapid fire while navigating busy intersections. When I'd take a few extra seconds to process, she'd dramatically sigh and write notes about my attention problems. I brought in my medical documentation. She glanced at it for 2 seconds. Any kid can get a doctor to write a note these days. I offered to have my mom explain my accommodations. I don't need mommy making excuses for lazy students. My friends said I should report her, but I was terrified she'd fail me out of spite. I needed my license for my after-school job. The day of my actual driving test, Mrs. Henderson was determined to watch me fail. She whispered to the DMV examiner before we started, "This one claims to be dyslexic. Don't let her fool you." Everything was going fine until we approached a complex intersection downtown. There was construction, temporary signs everywhere, and orange cones redirecting traffic into a maze of detours. The examiner pointed to a handwritten cardboard sign zip-tied to a construction barrel. "Follow the detour instructions on that sign." I pulled over safely and stared at the sign. The handwriting was messy, the letters were dancing around, and under pressure, my dyslexia was in full force. After about 30 seconds, I could make out detour and right turn, but couldn't process the rest quickly. "I'm sorry," I said to the examiner. "I have dyslexia, and I need a moment to read this properly." Mrs. Henderson exploded from the back seat. "There she goes again! There's nothing wrong with that sign. She can read it perfectly fine." The examiner looked confused. "Ma'am, what are you talking about? She's been pretending to have dyslexia for weeks. It's all fake. Watch this." Mrs. Henderson leaned forward and read the sign aloud. "Detour, right turn, follow orange cones to Main Street, merge left at the light." Dead silence. The examiner stared at her, then back at the sign. "Ma'am, that sign says, 'Road closed, do not enter. Local traffic only.'" Mrs. Henderson's face went white. She read it again, slower this time. The examiner was right. Turns out, Mrs. Henderson needed reading glasses and had been too vain to wear them. She'd been misreading signs for months, maybe years, and covering it up by attacking students who actually had legitimate reading difficulties. The DMV examiner asked her to step out of the car immediately. Within an hour, Mrs. Henderson was suspended pending a vision test and investigation into how many students she'd wrongfully failed. I passed my driving test that day with a different instructor. Mrs. Henderson retired 2 weeks later rather than face the review board. The irony? She'd been the one with vision problems all along.